Oh, we were incredibly proud of the project. You know, we're sort of like the parents, you know, of the child. We're very happy with the amount of use that it's getting.
So membership went up 260%. So they had queues of people lining up to rejoin the library, and a lot of new members, but a lot of old members that hadn't been in the library for, say, 10 years.
What was there was a 1980s concrete block and concrete structure building.
And it was all just one big library. It was all just one big room with no sort of sense of definition. All you could see is over top of bookshelves, 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 bookshelves to the back of the room.
It had good bones. The structure was very solid, but it didn't respond to the park and to the historic nature of that part of town, which is really the heart of Bendigo. They wanted this to be the community lounge room. It wasn't just a library as in you go to borrow books. So basically, I think what got us the job and what we ended up doing was create a pedestrian thoroughfare through the lane, across Hardcrest Street, and then through the library. There's lots of things that are available to you along this street. You know, the children's space, so people come in with prams and with kids, and the children's space is right there at the front end of the library. There's community spaces, there's a whole browsing section, which is then attached to the cafe, which was really an idea that the council had to promote the use of the library for as many hours of the day as possible.
There was sort of philosophical sort of brief actually about how the building was going to work. Because the building was so large, we decided to sort of try to break it into a series of rooms. So rooms that may not necessarily have walls, but you know, they might have different ceilings. So there's the meeting rooms downstairs are open, but they have a ceiling that goes all the way up to the concrete soffit. The back study areas have kind of feature ceilings that are on an angle. They refer to the sawtooth ceilings above. So again, that character of that space is slightly different than the space that's immediately next to it.
We were lucky that in the centre of the existing library there was a large atrium space, a large cutout of the first floor. So we used that atrium to bring what we called a lantern form from the roof down to kind of halfway down. And this lantern creates a bit of a focal point and directs people to the upstairs area. It just connects the two floors.
Then we introduced a skylight, which I think was quite a critical move.
Yeah.
So there's quite a large skylight that wraps around the hexagonal lantern. And so the movement of light, I think actually the changing nature of the building is quite incredible. And I think that's actually one of the most successful things.
Yes.
And in fact, you can always tell it's going very well when the contractors start sending you iPhone photos late in the evening while they're under construction, where they've been photographing the light movement through the building and saying things to you. Do you realise how the light is going to move through this building? It's fabulous.
We always try and create movement in a building, and light is a really good way of creating that sense of movement.
I think shadow too was important. The trees all cast their shadows because they're north facing onto the facade.
Yeah.
And again, they move, they're sort of like a spider web that sort of moves across the facade. So again, if you come there and, you know, late morning versus later in the afternoon, the facade will actually be quite different. And then the use of these perforated panels, so we get, you know, wonderful moire effect going on. Or in the summer with the high sun, that actually they cast the shadow of the tree down through the moire canopy. So you get this pixelated movement of a tree, you know, on the pavement outside the building. And we wanted to do a facade that I suppose we hadn't done before. And so we needed to test it with someone that, you know, way before obviously construction, you know, a year or so before construction, we were going to document and design around this part of the building.
I think it's clear at AWS that they like working with architects. There's a conversation that they're happy to have with you when you want specific requirements for whatever reason.
So being able to have that conversation, I think you're right. And actually, I suppose having that confidence too, that the person you're having the conversation with, you know, actually knew what they were talking about and or said, well, you know, yes, you can do that, but have you thought about doing that? Because that actually might meet your criteria a little bit better. And the door's open and there's that nice kind of, you know, that buzz, people are chatting and they can have a cup of coffee if they want, or they can just hang out and read the newspaper, sit on the couch, you know, sit in the sunlight coming through.
A nice thing about doing a project like this and being able to transform it to such an extent is that people are able to rediscover it and look at it as if it was completely new. in that way, it's wonderful to do a public building, you know, to design a public building, because it has very much that sense that everybody can enjoy it.